And we are live. Welcome to the MindCep Podcast. This is your host, Alex Muir, helping you flex your mind, body, and soul. In today's episode 89, we're going to speak with my special guest, Cameron Haines. Cameron Haines is the founder of Mobile Body Scans. He's an entrepreneur driven by a genuine commitment to delivering value to his customers. He possesses a fervent dedication to enhancing the customer experience within his businesses and fostering the growth of client services across the businesses he collaborates with, leveraging MFR Group's offerings. And please welcome Cameron Haines to the podcast. Cameron, thank you so much for joining us today on the MindCep Podcast. Happy to have you here and welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me, Alex. It's a pleasure to be on and great to have a chat about the business and the mindsets and other things to go along with it.
Absolutely. So let's start right off the top there. I wanted to ask you, I don't know if I had it listed in my questions that I sent you over, but is your brand, is your business, do you sell to gyms internationally? Because I think I saw in your PDF that it's mainly just to New South Wales and New Zealand and Australia, but are you selling to any other countries at all?
Yes, we're actually a little bit more local. So just New South Wales. You were correct the first time.
Oh, okay.
My ultimate dream is that this could be franchised or this could be licensed. At the end of the day, what I've sort of come about is just a way to utilize these body scan machines that are extremely underutilized in a lot of fitness facilities across the world. The brand we use, InBody, is worldwide. So theoretically, this maybe one day could be worldwide.
Right on. And I really was intrigued when the PR firm or your publisher sent it over to me to have you on as a guest, because especially in this space, for the fitness space, for getting a better read, getting more accuracy on our body fat percentage, our muscle to fat ratio, all that kind of stuff. From a young age, when I was 17, I was really into body, I'd say 19, I was really getting into bodybuilding. And that was one area where a lot of bodybuilders or people in the fitness space, right? You want to be as accurate and precise with your body fat and your muscle and all that as you can. And there really wasn't a device or something that I had used that was reliable, right? Like you said, the body fat calipers, those weren't really reliable. Heard about a DEXA scan, but for a lot of gym goers that are, trying to build up their physique and all that, a DEXA scan, was kind of it was unobtainable, right? Financially, it was very expensive. And, it worked out to be $250 to $300 Canadian per assessment. So it's And even though it might be they said at the time was the most accurate, I still was you know what, for doing that, spending that amount of money, I don't know.
Yeah. And it's a hard one in some ways. DEXA is still up there in some ways, but it depends who you talk to. And I guess that's a massive conjecture of when it comes to this accuracy, because you've got InBody, we use, who are a Korean-based company, but are worldwide. They're big in the US, all the way through Canada, all those places, including here in Australia. But there's Volt scanners. There's all these different ones out there. And I guess at the end of the day, they all use some sort of measurement in that standpoint. But when we look at it in comparison, like skin fold calipers or that sort of stuff, it's one, quicker, simpler, and easier. Skin fold only gives you one thing, where this machine gives you 40 plus parameters, the one we use, and the more advanced machines give you 70 parameters. So it's all done in 90 seconds or so, and it's reliable in the standpoint you can hop on every single time. You could do the same day, 2 seconds apart or 10 minutes apart sort of thing. And it just keeps repeating the same results, which is really useful in that standpoint.
Right on. And does it use the electrode kind of technology, right? Where you stand on the scale, you're getting that electrode? Because a lot of the newer weight scales, I have a weight scale that does that, and it definitely, you can see it. It's all digital, and it gives you a reading of your weight and all the other metrics too. Definitely not as many as 40 metrics, but still.
No, so the biggest thing, I guess, in that standpoint, which I only learned from having these machines actually and going through some training. So the InBody scan machines we use have 4 different electrodes. So there's actually 2 under your feet, so you could say it's 6, but there's heel and front foot pad of the foot, and then you've got 2 in the hands, or technically on the thumbs as well. So the reason it does that, and this is something that I think is a widely unknown thing, especially across a lot of my clients, those scales that you probably have at home, if you step on that have those electrodes, it only tests the bottom half of your body. Right. So the electrodes only go up to, say, maybe your hips if you're really lucky. So they're actually a really inaccurate way of reading body fat, because there's a lot of people out there that have very little body fat in their legs, but they hold it all in their trunk or their arms. So again, machines like ours cover both ends. And there is also handheld devices, ones that only sort of do the upper body. So it's a very advanced machine, InBody, and that's not my company. That is an international company that has developed that, is very medically backed. Ours is more about how we're utilizing technology in our business format.
Right on. And one of the other areas like that I sent you over the questions was like, how do you guys do it when you're like leasing it or renting the equipment, letting the gyms like lease the equipment off you, rent the equipment, and you think it's better? How is it better for them to rent the equipment versus buy it kind of like wholesale from you?
Like that really comes from my own experience of having a studio. So I grew from being a trainer where I saw these machines come into my commercial facilities here in Australia. And then from there grew into building my own facility. But the big advantage that I see over our model really comes down to the cost of machines. So the InBody machines in Australia, just under $30,000 AU. So we're talking 20 something US in that standpoint. And it's a very hefty cost to just upload and then sit in the corner and then be doing, appointments on it. Where for us and the way that we're doing it, we're offering this machine on a per scan hire basis here. And that's our business model in some ways, with, of course, back-end technology and other stuff that goes in with that. But the idea of it is that these gyms or studios or people that are hiring off us are able to hire only for what they're using. So we're even in a bit of a corporate space, we're even into sports teams and that sort of stuff, where we're making this technology a lot more accessible to a lot of people that don't have the finances or maybe just aren't in the position to do that.
Interesting. I like how you talk about the per scan. So you're able to charge it like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's just a different model. Like there's a lot of people that do it where, and I guess the other side of us, which is very different, there's a lot of people that do per scan, but I go with the machine and I interpret for that person's clients or that sports team or whatever else, where we are really about providing that technology. So I'm there to support, and of course I can help my hirees. But I think, again, as a fitness professional in that perspective, it really makes much more value to it when the person is the person interpreting and talking to you about your results.
Right. And would you say is like some of the greatest challenges running a mobile body scanning business?
Right now, it's actually getting in front of people to talk to about it because they don't realize we do it. That's sort of part of the reason I'm doing some of these podcasts and that sort of stuff. And the other side of it, I would say from a client perspective, which is kind of sad from my side, is that these machines have been a bit overdone in terms of challenges and that sort of stuff. And again, I think that comes back to the business model. These people that have purchased these machines need to make money off them to pay these machines. So they kind of don't offer a lot of service with it, which again, through our training that we provide our hirees, we try and sort of combat that.
Right on. Yeah. Cause I definitely see your vision. I see the impact that it would have on professional sports teams, right? Like professional athletes, like if I was in the NBA or in the NFL or a professional, right? Like footballer, like in Europe, I would want to be doing that on a regular basis, right? Like
100%. And it gives you a lot of information. So like the machines, the 570s that we use break it down to segmental muscle. So like showing you how much is in right leg versus left leg. So, using it post surgeries or post injuries to try and get that muscular imbalances back, looking at volumes and that sort of stuff. But also it's just a metric. It's just a tracking. Like it is already used in like over here in a lot of our national sports in Australia. I'm pretty sure it's used in NBA and that sort of stuff, kind of behind the scenes. But it's really good for tracking. Like, there's plenty of history out there. I don't know the exact figures, but I know like LeBron James or the basketballers, they start the season like 3 or 4 kilos heavier than they finish the season most of the time. So to know what that variance is and when that's occurring, these machines are able to offer that in 60 seconds. And again, our business offering that to everyone is kind of our perspective. Our slogan is information for everybody, which it truly is. As long as you've unfortunately got 4 limbs, that's our only proviso that you need to have.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, you guys do you have an app like that can plug in all that data to the mobile device, like your cell phone and all that?
So InBody, the actual company that owns the machine, do it. And that's where I guess we piggyback into that. So they own the data that sort of goes through the machines in that standpoint, but it's individually then distributed out to the customers in that way. So InBody is definitely making inroads in that standpoint, and that's the company that we sort of just utilizing their technology and piggybacking into. Again, we're really about supplying that device to the customer in that standpoint of whether they're personal, private, corporate, etc.
And how did this vision or this idea for this particular business in this segment of business come to you or come to mind? Like what was kind of the catalyst or the ideation?
It's kind of an odd one, really. And I guess wasn't something I really expected to come from it. I, as I said, progressed from being a corporate, like a trainer in a commercial gym or the facility, to building my own. And I got to a point and I was like, I need one of these machines. I want to prove what my clients are doing. I want to go down that path. And then once I had a machine, I had a friend who had a local studio approach me and goes, look, I'd love to have one of those machines. I'm like, well, why don't I just lend it to you for a day or a week? And then, I was like, let's just do $10 a scan or something like that. And they did like 100 scans. And I was like, that kind of works. And, my scan rates at my studio went up because the machine disappeared. It wasn't just always there. And so that was kind of the quick little birth. And then I communicated with a few other businesses, and now we're dealing with franchises and other stuff. So it's really kind of grown off that back. And I looked at it and had those conversations like, why did this person not purchase it? My own history, like it took me 4 years to finally bite the bullet and pay for one of these machines. And all of those things made me realize there's a really big gap in the market.
Holy smokes. Yeah. I like how people were doing a ton of scans and you saw the potential there.
Yeah. And again, like a lot of the studios, like we're very lucky here in Australia, like a lot of places have these machines. It's become almost odd for a place not to. But again, a lot of the other side of this is a lot of people were sending, and I was doing this, people are sending from my business or their business, they're sending someone out to a different business to get information and then coming back. Like it's all these different standpoints where, through my knowledge of marketing and advertising, all that stuff, like if you can have these things in-house, and be doing it where you have the ability to more influence your people better, why wouldn't you in some ways? And again, it comes down to, do you want to put 30 grand and put it in the corner, or would you prefer to just, as you go, hire it at a rate that you can still put a premium on? And at the end of the day, a lot of our hirees are profitable in comparison to, I think, the scanner cost me, say, $700-800 a month just to have it there when it's been before it was owned. So, I could have been making money instead of paying money for this machine.
Right. Rather than finance it. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
And how do you guys keep up with the latest research and developments in the field of body composition analysis?
So again, I guess we're lucky in that standpoint because we're piggybacking off the InBody system. They're the ones that are really developing the technology in that standpoint and keeping current with the machines. From our side, it's more keeping current with the information and the research and the papers and that sort of stuff that are coming out about the information. So, learning things about certain circumferences or certain aspects of the device and the printout that it's giving or the information it's giving. What does that translate? How does that come together? And that's really just, keeping your head in the books and doing the work.
No, for sure. And what are some of the goals or plans that you have for mobile body scans in the near future?
As we're sort of really busy, like this time of year, we've got a massive amount of challenges on at the current point. So, it's the biggest challenge and the biggest thing I'm looking to is possible expansion. We completely booked out the last month and a half, with the 3 machines we have. So there's a possibility that I'm looking at getting more machines, but there's also a perspective, and that's where the licensing concept came from, is maybe looking at this and going, there's a lot of underutilized machines out there. And there's a lot of businesses that have these machines, and I guess the licensing works worldwide of, creating a little program and creating something that would be about teaching or providing my learnings and helping people establish their own little perspective of a mobile body scans or, body scans to you. I don't know. There's plenty of different things out there. That's probably the biggest thing that's coming in the near future.
Yeah. So making sure like everyone that has these machines is like educated on how they can fully utilize their potential.
Yeah. And I did a podcast ages ago with a guy here in Australia, and he had multiple gyms and he had a machine in every gym. And it's funny, through our discussion, we had a line that's really stuck with me ever since. It's like, a gym owner buys these machines a lot of the time, or a nutritionist thinking that they're going to support their business, not realizing they are a different business. Like at the end of the day, they are completely separate in some ways. It's a different product. It's a different everything. And there is ways to incorporate it, but you have to think differently with these machines in some standpoints to how to really get the revenue back in from them.
Yeah. No, for sure. And how do people, like, I know you said it started off in the ideation phase, like where you lent a piece of equipment to your friend in their fitness studio, but like nowadays, how are you promoting it? How are you marketing yourself so people can find like that you offer this service?
So we've got some social media stuff out there. I'm looking at doing some email campaigns and that sort of stuff. Really, at the current time, it's cold calls. Like we're doing it old school, going back to the standpoint and touching base. Because the other side I've learned through that process is there's a lot of people that don't even advertise they have them. They're just hidden in their gym. Like in my local area, there's a massive government-owned facility that I was like, oh, I can't see how they have one. And lo and behold, I called them to have a chat with the manager about it. He's like, oh, no, we've got one. It's like, what do you mean? You don't even advertise it. Like, I talked to members of that gym and they didn't, or the fitness facility, it's like a pool, everything. They didn't even know it existed. So,
Wow.
it's crazy in that way as well.
Wow. Yeah. So I like how you're doing the cold calling, right? Because like it's not, people say cold calling's dead. It's not dead. Like I'm still doing it. And it's like, it's just like now, like it's all about reframing your mindset, right? It's like sometimes it's just a different conversation, like a new conversation, right? And then that new conversation can breed into something big. You just never know.
Well, yeah, part of the reason I went to it was because, it's also hard to get in touch with these people. Like I remember myself as a gym owner, and I'm trying to respect that as a business owner myself or an
Yeah.
entrepreneur in that standpoint. Someone turned up from my facility and was like, hey, can I talk to you for 10 minutes? It's like, no, I don't have time. Where, if someone sent me a message and goes, hey, I've got this, or even just starting the conversation simply, it's like, do you have a body scan machine at your studio? Yes or no, right? If they say yes, I don't need to talk to them at the current time.
Yeah.
And it's just depends on where you're trying to go with it. But
Yeah.
conversations have sadly gone by the way, I think, in some ways. It's really trying to get warm leads constantly, where realistically sometimes, and some of my best hirees have literally just been, I've called up and said, hey, talk to them, set up a time, and the next thing we're sort of massive hires are coming out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. It's all about building those connections, right? And
100%.
for doing these assessments, because you said you can do it, right? It spits out the same kind of metrics and everything, like every 90 seconds. How often would you recommend to someone or one of your clients, like do it
Ooh.
per day?
Look, it's a real hard one. In my studio, we were in a very high end sort of one-on-one perspective.
Yeah.
That some people would do it weekly, fortnightly, somewhere in that standpoint, but we used those metrics to then change their program. So we knew, okay, you've implemented this new dietary change. Okay, we're seeing that you've lost a kilo of fat in the past fortnight. We're seeing your muscle mass has stayed stable. All of those things. You can go to that point. That's the very extreme. I would more say anywhere between 6 to 12 weeks.
Okay.
Give it
Yeah.
enough time where you're realistically got an ability to see a difference and you can test it. And I think that's the one of the biggest things from my PT side is that don't just get a scan because you can get a scan, which it comes down to be a lot with challenges. It's like implement things and change things and go, if I adjust my calorie intake or I adjust my strength training, what am I truly getting back out of this? It shouldn't just be, I'm just going to do an extra day of training for no reason. Like, quality of life and that sort of stuff. You can't spend 50 hours a week just exercising for no reason. Well, I don't think you
No.
should be anyway.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Yeah, no. So you got to wait till you've, started to implement those new habits and you got to give them time till they, the new nutrition, the new habits start to get dialed in. So, that makes sense.
Yeah. And again, it doesn't have to be nutrition. Like, as you said, habit. Like it can be consistent wake times, anything to do with health. Because at the end of the day, the machines are covering, fat mass, muscle mass. There's a bone mineral perspective. There's like cell health. It shows water levels, visceral fats. It's got so many different parameters. You just need to be knowing which ones, like what are you trying to change and where are you trying to go with it?
Yeah, no, for sure. And then let's talk about hygiene and safety of the machines, right? So let's say you got a high volume gym, commercial style gym, lots of people using it, right? Not as much one-on-one, more like, lots of gym goers are using it. How do you is there any like protocols you guys have in place for or that you educate the gym owners with, like keeping the machines clean or how they should be
Of course.
weekly maintenance kind of a thing?
So the machines, like they're metal electrodes, so that in itself is quite hygienic. And each person prior to scanning does use a wipe. It's less for hygiene and more to get moisture in the skin, but there is an alcohol component. So it's very hygienic in that standpoint. You can't do it post exercise. It's always done pre exercise. It's most accurate done in the mornings.
Yeah.
So realistically, a lot of people that are coming in fresh, freshly showered, yada, 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 going through. But there is, of course, those protocols that you're meant to wipe both hands and feet. So each contact point is wiped before each one, and making sure that it's as safe as possible, especially in this world. Like the joke I always say is like the wipes were here before COVID, guys. It's not just because of COVID or anything like that comes
Yeah.
through.
Yeah. No, for sure. And how do you cope with like the demand and the competition in the mobile body scanning industry?
Um, Demand wise, it's become quite hard. We've kind of changed it where we used to do 7 days as most of our hires. We're now sort of doing between 3 and 7 days. It's availability based in that way. There's a lot of machine shuffling, and it's trying to get machines in locations, and that's really through the development of the past few months. I can see how, from a franchise perspective, if there was like pockets, so a machine was in a local area, or it could sort of stay in that local area and move around, it would work quite well. From a competition perspective, I don't really know of anyone else doing what we're doing in our way. So there is definitely, as I mentioned, people that are going with the machines and then doing the interpretations as part of that, which I think loses some value, as I mentioned before, as well, for the customer. So on that front, can't really answer that question because I don't really think there is a competitor at the current time.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then as far as like the whole system surrounding like getting the equipment to these gyms and to the gym owners, like what kind of systems in place for that? Like let's say, right? Because you're saying there's a lot of shuffling around of, right? And like you're not necessarily have the availability of newer equipment. It's more like, okay, this gym has it at this time, this gym. So how does all that booking take place and the transferring of the machines from gym to gym? And
so it's done by us, in our local area or throughout the whole area that I service. We run a back-end system, like a booking system, and it's blocked, and there's, pick-up day and drop-off day sort of stuff in there. So it's a bit manual at the current time. I can see how we could systemize that a fair bit better. Same thing with inquiries. It's all manually inquired. People put their inquiry and then we contact them. But that's also to vet people in some ways to make sure that they're the right fit. And we also then try and work with facilities. Like we had a recent hire that was a franchise in Sydney, Australia, that they took care of the machine and the transfers. So we delivered them up to Sydney, and then they moved them around their franchises for a week to start their challenges. So we're happy to work with the people because it's a simple process to set these machines up as well.
no, for sure. But I think that's all the questions I got for you today. But it was a pleasure having you on the MindCep Podcast, Cameron. Would love to have you on again to go even more in depth with mobile body scans. And yeah, like thanks for being on the podcast. And is there any spots maybe on social media or on your website that you're most active on, and how our listeners can engage with it and reach out to you?
We're trying to be as active as possible on both Facebook and Instagram. And then there is our website. In some ways, we are a very local business at the current time, but I guess, if we did get that licensing or stuff, maybe that was where we would sort of broadcast out a bit more in there. But, always website, Instagram, Facebook is the main places that we sort of communicate our product and offering at the current time.
Right on. Well, appreciate you coming on the MindCep Podcast tonight there, Cameron. And I'm going to get this edited and published. I'm aiming to do it probably by tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Like Pacific time. And then what I do is, because we've been recording this episode via Zoom, what I do is I use a software that splices all of the, it turns it into like 30 clips. So then I can share those with you, and then you can share them with your audience on all your social platforms.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Awesome. Really, really appreciate your time, and thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, and thanks for the conversation. It's nice to be able to talk, and it's crazy to think I'm sitting here talking to someone on the other side of the world about a local business at the current time. But 6 months from now, a year from now, it could be in your local area as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's got the ability to. And again, it's interesting in that way. And maybe this conversation will start people sparking and maybe get a few contacts and people wanting to know more about what we do. Absolutely. And seeing how they can do it themselves.
No, for sure. Right on. Let's make it international.
Yeah.
Right on. Sure. All right. Have a good day or a good evening.
You too.
All right. Take care. Disclaimer. The information I provide to the podcast listeners of MindCep is based on my own research and personal experience.
It is not intended to be a substitute for professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Not all information is factual or has scientific evidence to support it. I am simply sharing the best information I can find and finding valuable content to help you improve your mental health and well-being. Please consult your doctor or therapist before trying any of the modalities I discussed on this podcast.
And this episode is brought to you by RadioGuestList.com, the #1 free radio guest, podcast, and talk show guest expert interview booking service on the internet.
This episode is brought to you by PodcastGuest.com, connecting podcasters with great guests. Podcasters. Find relevant experts and other podcasters to be guests on your podcast. Experts, guests, and more. Get booked on great podcasts to expand your reach and audience. PodcastGuest.com connects podcasters with experts, authors, and other podcasters to be guests on their podcasts.
Are you ready to take your mind and body to the next level? Look no further than MindCep, the podcast that's all about unlocking your true potential. And now we've teamed up with a brand that's as dedicated to recovery as we are. Introducing New Recover Ice Bath. Hey there, podcast listeners. It's your host Alex here, and I've got some exciting news for you. If you're looking to supercharge your recovery after those intense workouts, or just want to experience the incredible benefits of cold therapy, New Recover is your ultimate solution. Picture this. You've pushed your limits, and now it's time to treat your body to the rejuvenating power of an ice bath. New Recover Ice Bath offers a range of top quality products designed to help you bounce back faster and stronger. From their innovative ice bath tubs to their specially formulated recovery accessories, New Recover has it all. But wait, there's more. As a valued listener of MindCep, you're in for a treat. When you use my exclusive discount code ALEX36631 at checkout, you'll get a fantastic 15% off on any New Recover product purchased through my affiliate link. That's right, a 15% discount to elevate your recovery game. So whether you're an athlete aiming for peak performance or someone who simply wants to feel invigorated every day, New Recover Ice Bath is your ticket to unparalleled recovery. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to invest in your well-being. Remember, it's not just an ice bath, it's a lifestyle upgrade. Head over to our affiliate link to explore the New Recover range and embrace the power of recovery like never before. Don't forget to use code ALEX36631 for that exclusive 15% discount. Thank you for supporting MindCep and taking this exciting journey with us. Here's to unlocking your potential and recovering the New Recover way. MindCep and New Recover, because your mind and body deserve the best. Start your journey today. Do you love listening to the MindCep Podcast and want to support us? Here's how you can do it. Simply use our Amazon affiliate link when you shop online. It won't cost you anything extra, but we'll get a small commission from Amazon for every purchase you make. This way, you can help us keep producing high-quality content for you and millions of other listeners. Just click on the link below and start shopping. Thank you for your support. Affiliate disclosure. Using our link for Amazon earns commission, supporting the MindCep Podcast. Our endorsement is based on quality and potential to enhance your well-being. Thank you for your support. The MindCep Mission. MindCep's mission is to empower 30+ million listeners worldwide to achieve optimal mental and physical health through engaging podcasts, inspiring positive change for future generations. Dear listeners, I thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to the MindCep Podcast. This is your host, Alex Muir, helping you flex your mind, body, and soul. And I just want to start off by saying, I appreciate you. I appreciate you listening to this podcast. I appreciate your feedback on my episodes and following the show. And I would like your feedback as well in the form of a short rating and review
on Apple Podcasts. Spotify Podcast now has a rating and review section. So I would love your feedback on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, to help me attract great guests and to help me further the show and develop the show and improve the show. So hopefully you guys all enjoyed this episode. And again, you can reach out to me to give additional feedback on my blog. That's alexandermuir.com/blog. You can reach out to me on through my Instagram, through Facebook. All my links are in the show notes. And again, I appreciate you and thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed that special guest series episode brought to you by RadioGuestlist.com. If you enjoyed this podcast interview with myself and my guests, and you'd like to give me some feedback, please do so by leaving a short review on Apple Podcasts under MindCep Podcast. That's MindCep, the MindCep Podcast. On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you listen to podcasts. And I'll be happy to hear your feedback. And if you'd like to connect with me, you can do so as well on social media or on my blog. That's Alexander Muir, ALXANDER, Muir, M as in Mike, UIR.com. And thank you for listening, and see y'all next time.